Hello, hello, you chat bastards. Let's see. Let's hope that this is working. I can see all of you wonderful faces in the restream chat. But can you all see and hear me? That's the big question. Yeah, so somebody was asking. Okay, yeah. So I use Restream's chat function, which combines all three channels so I can see everybody's messages. But also, if I send a message, it sends it to all three channels. So yes, if I'm talking in YouTube with that, it'll also replicate over to the other two. I look legitimately sad. No, that is the look of exhaustion, Velrak. I'm just tired. I got a lot going on. Aside from this, working on Legend Seeker and the channel and having my actual job and stuff. I'm also doing courses now to supplement and enhance my opportunities for my real job and beyond, and just normal life. So if I look sad, it's probably just tiredness, but I'm not sad. I'm a very happy individual. I'm very happy to be here. Many cool things going on with Legend Seeker, the role-playing game. And just wanted to hop on and show you guys what we're doing. But I can't tell. Let me go to turn off studio mode on this thing real quick. All right, I think you guys can read that text, yeah? I don't have that weird fuzzy thing going on. All right. Well, if you're on your phone, you probably can't read it. But those of you who have this on your PC or TV or something, it should be pretty readable. But yeah, I'm here for the usual to answer your questions. If you have any questions about Legend Seeker, or how you might support it, or anything, you can ask those things here, and I will happily answer what I can answer. Oh, quiet, Chrysanth. I cannot write my book in dark mode, okay? That would look retarded. But yeah, I'm going to show you a couple things that I've been working on the actual book, and show you the book does actually exist, by the way. There have been prior detractors in the past or whatever that have suggested that this doesn't exist, but it does exist. It is being worked on, and it is playtesting right now. But also I wanted to show you the character sheet because I'm really excited about that and what that actually means. Because some people, I think, don't really understand the significance of the fact that we have this. It's not just, hey, we got a digital sheet. It means a lot more than that, and we're going to go into that as well. But yeah, and for those viewing on Rumble, welcome. This is officially my first Rumble stream. They've changed some things since the last time. I originally was not going to use Rumble because it was such a pain in the ass to set up when I first messed with it. But they've changed a lot since then, apparently. And so it feels like it's a little bit better now. It works. It plays nice with Restream. I don't have to make an individual instance. Apparently you're monetized from the get-go, so all that stuff seems pretty cool. And also it's just nice to kind of build a secondary home with all the weird stuff going on with YouTube, with the AI and the flagging and just everything in general. It just doesn't seem like it's a safe place to be all the time. So I did want to see something else here. All right, if I go to Rumble and I go to I can answer that real quick. If I go to channels, my channels, Moonskull, I don't remember how to do this. There's something about I wanted to test. Oh no, I've already messed up somehow. Earn. You know what? I'll figure it out someday. Supposedly there's some way to read ads or something. I don't really understand Rumble yet. We're gonna figure it out. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna learn, and I'm going to make things good for you guys. But yeah, it'll be a nice option. That way, if anything bad does happen on the YouTube side for some reason, we're not totally lost out to sea. Hey, all Dave, good to see you over in Rumble. Do we have pronouns on the character sheet? No, we do not. That is something that just doesn't seem quite necessary. Precious sheet space, you might say, that could be dedicated to actual game mechanics. All right, so let's see the things I wanted to show you. First, I kind of wanted to show you the text here. I probably should have done this differently. Let me think for a second. I'm going to I don't know if this will behave correctly if I do this, so I'm going to real quick hide this and move it. We're going to move this and move this. In theory, wait, what did I just do? Damn it, I did something wrong. Fear not, chat, I am a professional. Okay, this is what I want to do. All right, move this here. I am a genius of all geniuses, chat. All right, let me try adding that back. Aha! Yes, so genius, so much genius. The genius is ungeniusable. Oh, except for now, it looks like it's off center. Why is it doing it like that? Can I just can I zoom in? Maybe 150%? Oh yeah, that looks a little bit better, right, chat? I'm gonna fix this. Actually, no, you can see enough. So just to show you, I want to show you how much I'm very humble, Jensen. Very, very humble. In case you guys were wondering how big this damn book is, this is the side here is just a scrolling of the chapters and subsections. As you can see, there's quite a bit in here. And that's just one book. That's not counting all the other books we're making. And it's not just headlines. Look at this. We actually have text. I know. It's crazy, but there's an actual book here. And it's coming along. It's coming along. So I wanted to kind of just show you off the structure of a class, because that is something I haven't been able to do yet, at least not in a full text. And then I wanted to show you the character sheet. And then, of course, if there's any questions, happy to do so. I thought I saw a Rumble rant, but maybe I made that up. Did I see a Rumble rant? I don't know what this thing's saying. Sorry, I'm still getting used to Rumble, guys. I'm going to figure it out, I promise. So I'm going to show you the Barbarian. All right, this is the Barbarian. This is our iconic character. And they've got their own backstories too, by the way. I actually don't know if I want to show that off yet either. Hold on. I'm going to pull this off and just move it real quick. And in theory... Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted. All right, cool. So this is our iconic Barbarian. So when you guys played the playtest, right now you're playing as these characters. These are essentially the class characters, the iconic legendary figures that represent the class, and they'll be the people that represent them in the artwork. They'll also kind of be like the starter set characters. They'll be like in the actual core book, there'll be a recommended, hey, if you're just hopping in, you want a fast character and learn how to play the game and focus on that before you build characters, play as this guy. All right, and this is Zathka, the Keeper of Lost Names, is his moniker. But you can just call him Zathka. He is our lizard man barbarian. And so each of these classes will kind of have like a flavor text page. It talks about a few examples of what a barbarian might be like, right? So um, it'll give like one example of a type of barbarian, and then it'll get another narrative example, and then another narrative, and then it'll actually go into, okay, now we've given you a few examples. What is a barbarian? All right. It talks about them being forged in rage, the strength of legend, and then gives you an idea of what it's like to be a seeker, which is what we call our players in this game, seekers. DMs already? I've barely even started. You know what? I don't trust how my Rumble setup is yet, and I don't want to show off DMs on the phone, so let me just look in my phone. Oh, we did get a Rumble rant. So I guess those don't show up in the Restream chat, or maybe it went before I had it up. I don't know. But Jensen sent $2. Dang, they changed Rumble rants. I can no longer write it soliloquy for just $1, but you do get a higher percent of the pay at least. Well, thank you, Jensen. Actually, that did show up. It just didn't show up as being... I saw that message, but I didn't see it as a Rumble rant. I wonder if that's because they're not as integrated. That's going to be something I'm going to have to keep track of. But thank you for the Rumble rant. I appreciate that. Interested to see how that all works. All right. Now, what was I looking at? All right. So then it goes in kind of the game rule information about the class. It talks about, you know, what's their best thing. For barbarians, strength and constitution are probably the primary attributes you'd want to focus on. If you want their scores to play heavily into all their abilities, obviously you can build your character however you want. Do you want a really smart barbarian who was the runt of the litter and has a low constitution? You can do that. But generally, they benefit from having strength and constitution. It tells you how many stamina points to get on their first level, as well as how much they get every level thereafter. So in this case, it's 10 plus their constitution modifier, and then every level thereafter, they get 1d10. And then hit points, they get 7. Now, something I don't think I've talked about on stream, maybe I have, but when you build a character, there's actually 2 places you get your hit points from, your race and your class. So for example, if you're playing a gnome, they have a base hit points of 3. A barbarian class has a base hit points of 7. So in total, your hit points would be 10 if you were to make a gnome barbarian. And then it goes into the features, right? So you've got 3 armor defenses in this. You have your reflex, will, and fortitude. So as a barbarian, you get +1 to your fortitude and then +2 to your reflex. Hope nobody mind controls you. And then also you get some starting edges. Actually, we get to change that. See? You see how editing works? There we go. Starting edges. And that's just basically your normal stuff. Weapon proficiencies, things like that. You start out with some gold. This is just a placeholder. We haven't actually decided what the gold's going to be yet. And then some starting equipment. This is probably not the official starting equipment. It was just something I put as a placeholder. And then core mechanics, it talks about the various aspects of your class. Now, this is a martial class. So this barbarian is a martial class. So martial classes use momentum instead of spells. And so momentum, their powers and abilities are fueled by momentum, a resource they build through acts of ferocity, dominance, and they spend to form brutal, high-impact maneuvers. You start off with a amount right now. Currently, this is the way we're doing it. There is an alternate version numerically, but right now we're sticking to this. Barbarians have a momentum pool whose size is equal to 4 times their character rank. So at level 1, that would be 4. Now, you start out a battle with 0, okay? Whenever you go into battle, you have 0 momentum, but you can gain momentum by doing the following things. You gain a momentum if you score a heavy hit. That's if you hit somebody and get 2 raises. You score 2 momentum if you get a critical hit. You also get 2 momentum when you reduce an enemy to 0 HP. So obviously, the barbarian is all about hitting hard and taking down foes, and that's what they get their jollies from here to get their momentum. And then you can spend momentum To unleash combat effects, activate class talents, or extend your capabilities in the fight. Unless otherwise stated, you may only spend momentum once per effect per turn. And then there is a chart of effects. Okay, so these are the things that you can spend your momentum on starting out. There are other things you'll eventually unlock with talents and things like that. But you get knockback for 1 momentum. You can add knockback to a melee attack. Target must pass a fortitude save. Oh, this is the old text. That's all right. It's the same concept. This will be slightly different, but it does the same thing. So essentially, if your attack beats their fortitude, you'll knock them back 2 squares. Extra step, you spend 1 momentum. You get an extra square to your base speed till the end of your next turn. Fast strike for 2 momentum. Make an additional melee attack as a free action once per round. And feel no pain, 2 momentum. Reduce damage from an incoming melee or range attack by 1d6 times your character rank. Momentum. That's right, Frost. I have not decided how I'll handle bonuses from super chats once you start streaming Legend Seeker. That I have not figured out yet. Right now, I got to get the game working before I can actually think too much about that. But that's the. It'll definitely. We'll have it monetized. We'll have some cool options for you guys. It'll be fun. And then it says talents grant additional unique openings. Actually, I don't know if you can see that. For spending or even earning momentum, creating synergy between your brutal playstyle and resource management. And then the class thing that you get is called Rage. As a free action, you may enter a state of rage, awakening the primal force within you. It is not just an emotion, it's a transformation into something that's more beast than person. When you're raging, you gain temporary stamina hit points equal to 5 times your character rank. You get +5 on strength-based checks into your damage threshold. You're immune to the frightened condition and gain a +2 bonus to will defense against mind-affecting effects. You may still gain or spend momentum as normal, but you cannot cast spells or use skills or abilities that require carefulness or concentration to perform. Rage lasts for 2 rounds, plus your Constitution modifier, minimum 3. You may attempt to end rage early as a limited free action, but must succeed on a DC Wisdom check to do so. If you drop to 0 stamina while raging, the rage ends immediately. You may rage for free once per encounter. To rage again during the same encounter, you must spend 3 momentum as a limited free action to reignite your fury for 2 rounds, plus your Constitution modifier, minimum 3. The number of times you have raged, minus the number of times you have raged already in the same encounter. If this would equal 0, you cannot rage. So that is how our rage mechanic is set up. And then there's a table, okay, that goes down and you'll get bonus feats and talents, your base attack bonus, and this is your class level, obviously. And then we go into the actual talent trees, and this is where you really get to flesh out the class and make it your own outside of the edges. So the Berserk talent tree is the more you bleed, the more your opponent is stricken with fear. So this is all about going into frenzies and really just going berserk and getting a bunch of extra bonuses, and getting more attacks in with less penalties, being so blind with rage that you can't be charmed, retaliating against those who hit you first, etc., etc. Now this particular one, when your rage ends, I believe this is the one, right? Yeah. You go down your condition track a couple steps. You can later improve it to only go down 1 step, I think. And then we have the Outlander talent tree. This one is about kind of having a natural hardened resilience from being out in the wild. Having reckless fury and heightened sentis, being fast and furious and brutal. So for example, you can choose to attack with like a reckless fury, get a little extra on your attack rolls in exchange for sacrificing some of your defense. You can get better initiative rolls. You can spend momentum. See, this is where we add abilities. You can spend momentum to charge with 2 extra squares of movement. And then if you happen to use if you do this on a charge attack, you regain some of that momentum you spent if you hit. Your critical can be a little bit stronger, add an additional d6 to it. The animal aspect tree, this represents you bonding with or learning from the animals in the wild, I should say, and taking on some of their aspects. So first you start off with the Bond of the Wild talent, which gives you some extra speed, and then you pick, you got Bear, Raptor, and Wolf currently. Those each give you very specific things. Once you pick one, you can no longer pick the other. Then there's an improved version or an evolved version of each one that makes it a little bit stronger. So for example, we'll look at the Raptor. While raging and unarmored, enemies take -2 to attack rolls for attacks of opportunity made against you. If they miss, gain 1 momentum. You also get a +2 competency bonus on notice rolls to notice an enemy attacking you from stealth and combat. That's the regular Raptor. The evolved Raptor, while raging, when an enemy misses you with an attack of opportunity as a reaction, you may spend 1 momentum to make a melee attack against them with an insight bonus equal to the amount they missed you by. You may use this talent once per round. So cool stuff like that. I'm toying with adding another talent on this one that lets you pick a second aspect, but I don't know if that's going to be too strong. So as of right now, that's not there. And then there's the Untamed Fury talent tree. This one is about Untamed Fury. You make challenging bellows that kind of make you the aggro source. People are going to have an easier time hitting you than others. You can force openings to get in extra attacks. You can do kind of a barbarian whirlwind. Think Diablo. And you can do crippling blows that take them down the condition track. So as you can see, there are a whole bunch of ways. I'm not saying it again, Velrock. You're not going to trick me. You know what I said. Bear, Raptor, and you know. But there are a whole bunch of different ways you can build this character. And you don't have to stick to one, by the way. If you pick a talent tree, you're not stuck in that talent tree. If you want to, for example, take Frenzy and then come down here to the aspect talent tree and grab Bond of the Wild, and hey, you know what? You want Challenging Bellow too? That's up to you. You can mix and match and essentially build your own subclass. That's kind of what these talents allow you to do. And then edges. You get bonus edges. There's a list of them that you can pick from. These are outside of the normal edges you would get. So that's kind of the basic structure of a class. Every class is sort of built like this. So this would be the Barbarian. We've got our Cleric. Somebody was asking for all the classes. So I'm going to show you them all. Our Druid. The Noble, which is currently one of my favorite classes. I'm enjoying the Noble a lot. The Paladin, if you haven't seen the artwork for the new Paladin, or the new artwork for the Paladin, I should say, really cool. I don't have the Ranger in here yet. I'll get his artwork in there here soon. Our Rogue, our Dwarven Rogue. The Monk, he's kind of a badass. Imagine that guy hitting you. All right, imagine a guy whose skin's made of like thorny bark rapidly striking you over and over with those freaking hands. That shit would hurt, man. Our Warrior, a Warlock / Witch. I also really enjoy this class a lot as well. And our Wizard. Yes, the Paladin is based on Epic Mike. Meek. So yeah, those are the classes. That shows you a bit of the artwork, and I mean there's tons of other stuff going on here, guys. Our skills are all kind of broken out here. So you can kind of see the skills are all lined out here. There's charts and things that tell you the different things you can do with those skills. We've got our chapter on edges. So for example, you know, you've got these here. Magic, chapter full of spells. I'm not going to go into all of this. I did want to show you. Oh God, where is it? Maybe I don't. Oh, I remember. It's at the beginning. And we're adding artwork to everything. So just as an example, this is kind of the opening explaining how the game is ran. At the end of it, we've started adding some of the artwork from the actual game that's going to be put in the book to get an idea of the spacing a little bit. So if you haven't seen this over on the Patreon yet, this has been revealed there already. But really cool pieces of art that'll be going in here, representing everything. So a lot of going on here. Sorry, including a priest, or is it a cleric class? The priest is the cleric, essentially. Yeah. The clerics are each the priests of gods. What made you decide to do both barbarian and a warrior instead of rolling the barbarian edges and features into a subtype of warrior? One, I just really wanted that core mechanic of somebody who's outside of society and the animalistic rage and tribal combat style as being its own class, whereas warrior's more of a civilized type of combatant, and there's a whole different, and each of them have like 4 or 5 talent trees in them, and they're very different stylistically, and they have different strengths, right? Barbarians, they're skilled in like doing ride and having endurance and scoring heavy hits and things like that, where warrior as a class is more about technique. What kind of armor are you wearing? What maneuvers are you taking? That sort of thing. Frost, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Bear, boar, heron, leopard, and monkey. That could definitely be a thing. So, so the way the books will work, by the way, future books. So let's say we make another book down the road. Rather than add like 50 new classes, what we'll be adding is new talent trees or expanding old talent trees. So for example, this could be an example of that. Maybe we do add a boar, heron, leopard, and monkey talent tree in those future books, just kind of expanding that stuff out. If a barbarian has frenzy, does he also have rumble and ravage? No, but I like the idea of something called rumble, though. That'd be really funny. DMs again. Okay. I'm guessing one of those was a rumble rant and it's just not showing. So I guess I'm going to have to figure out how to make that work, because Darth Dave sent a $5 rumble rant. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I want to try out some more of the different classes. I was not a total fan of the noble, but not every class is for me. Did that work? And apparently it did. It doesn't highlight it in Restream, but I'm guessing that's because they don't have integrated API. But I'm going to have to figure out a method for that somehow. But it did work. It did work, so thank you. What class would work best for a witch hunter, and can I burn witches and warlocks at the stake? This is important. Probably a ranger. You probably want to go ranger on that. You could also go paladin. Maybe. There are some paladins and gods of those paladins who are not a fan of some of the things that witches and warlocks practice. But the hunter would probably be most geared and teched out for hunting down a specific type of thing and being really good at killing and finding that thing. Yeah, and you might not like there'll be different variations of the noble. So you might find there's a different version. You know what, let's look at the noble too, just real quick. I'll kind of give you an idea of like what a different version of the noble might be. Because you might like noble and just not like that version of the noble, for example. So nobles get something called an opening gambit. I don't know why it says bonus, damn it. As a free action at the start of combat, before initiative is rolled, you may deliver a sharp address or commanding challenge. Choose a number of enemies equal to your oops, I need to change that too. I did not update some of this stuff. Character rank. Make a persuasion. Ooh, something just went off. Make a persuasion check versus each of their will defenses. For each success, reduce the enemy's initiative by 5 and gain momentum. If you succeed by 2 or more raises, they are also shaken for 1 round. So basically, as a noble, you get to pick 2 targets right at the start and be like, you two are going to start with a -5 initiative, and maybe you're not going to be able to take very many actions on your first round because you're shaken, which is pretty cool. It gives your team a pretty cool advantage. And that's before taking any action. That's for free. And then, of course, their momentum generation is based on doing things like people failing against your persuasion or demoralizing rolls, or you succeeding against theirs. If you use a help action or talent to support an ally, or if you successfully stagger, disarm, or disable a foe using a class talent or combat maneuver. Those are all ways you can get momentum, and then you can spend those to do things like grant an ally within 30 feet of you 1d4 on their next attack roll. Need to remove that saving throw thing because that's not true anymore. Undermine resolve, force an enemy within 30 feet to make a... Oh, this is the old document. That's why some of this language is bad. I see. On a so basically, you attack their will defense, and on a failure, they suffer 1 d4 subtraction of that to their rolls on their next turn. So you can kind of humble them a little bit. Technical command, issue a command as a... this should be limited free. Limited free action. 1 ally within 30 feet may move up to half their speed or attack. So you can basically give somebody an extra attack off their turn. Disdainful grace, 1 momentum, choose an enemy that gains... this should be -5. -5 to their first attack against you during their next turn. Did this get cut off? Oh yeah, if they don't attack you during their next turn, regain 1 momentum. So as you can see already, nobles, their whole thing is increasing action economy and buffing and debuffing you in the party. So they're very much a control class. You also get a legacy perk. There'll be a few options for that because you're a noble and you've got a lineage. Something has been handed down to you of great import. And you get to pick a few options out of that, and they give you different things. For example, the knowledge artifact gives you bonuses on knowledge checks of your choice. And then later on, when you get the improved version, it can now fly and hover and give you extra on your perception checks and help you translate certain languages. But this is so this is where I really wanted to get to, is the talents, obviously, because this is where everything gets kind of crazy. So Cassia, who is the noble that we're currently playtesting, she is using the conceited lineage talent tree, which has a whole bunch of options. We started her with Imperious Gaze. Once per round, you may use your reaction, or use a reaction, and spend 1 momentum to choose an enemy within 10 feet that targets you with an attack. They must or make it... Okay, so this should be make a persuasion against their will defense. On a success, they suffer -5 on that attack. So that is a way to essentially limit them a little bit. Other options in this one, and I might do the next play testing one of these. Regal Command. When you use the opening gambit, you and allies within 15 feet also get a +1 reflex defense per enemy against whom succeed on your opening roll until the start of your next turn. So for this one, that opening gambit basically gets enhanced. So on top of making them slower, on top of maybe dazing them, now also each one you succeed against, you and the allies near you get a bonus of defense against them should they try to attack you. So this one is all about kind of being regal and imperious and commanding and using that regal bearing to really manipulate the battlefield. So you, like, for example, in Violeted Aura, enemies within 10 feet of you suffer a -1 to attack rolls against you. If you have not taken damage since the start of your last turn, allies within the same range get +1 to their defenses. So basically, if you can avoid taking harm for a whole round, your enemies suffer to their attack, and your friends all get bonuses. So really cool stuff there. And then there is the inspiring. So this is a different route, right? So this is about being an inspiring leader, someone who is charismatic and bold and just knows how to rally the troops. So this is very much a war cry type thing. So your opening gambit instead is enhanced to give +1 to attack rolls. You can spend momentum to give allies temporary stamina points. You can get immunity to a fright condition, and then your allies' defenses are pluses to their will defense. So lots of cool stuff there. Cutthroat politics is more like being one of those kind of feared nobles, an infamous tyrant. So hit this one's opening gambit. Target all enemies who can hear and see you. Enemies against which you succeed on that persuasion or intimidation check by 2 raises or more are not shaken, but must choose to use their first action to move away from you or take -2 to all d20 rolls on their first turn. So this is a lot of that kind of same stuff, right? So this is more about being cruel and demoralizing the enemy. So now you're not really focusing on enhancing your friends, you're crippling their ability to function against you. And then the last one is legacy. So legacy is very much about the benefits of being of noble bearing. So connections, your education, being well trained, having money is really nice. So yeah, the noble talent trees are pretty cool. It's definitely my style, as Dave said. Not everybody likes everything, but I just wanted to kind of show you there's like very many different flavors, and each one plays very differently. So even if you didn't like one version of the noble or the warrior or whatever, you may find that another one is actually really fun. So it'll be cool to see you guys get to explore that stuff. All right, let me catch up. Some reason my chat froze. Icky says there is no sorcerer class. That is correct. We do not have a sorcerer class. I originally did. It just felt like it was more or less overlapping with the witch/warlock. And also kind of like it just didn't really feel like it had that much of a place. So for now, there is no sorcerer class. What we do have, you have witch warlock, which is really a lot of fun. You have a wizard, which is more kind of the educational type caster. Oh, I just blanked on my other casters. You got the druid, you got the cleric, and man, I feel like I definitely missed one there. I'm losing my brain power. Or no, maybe I got them all. Maybe I said them all and I just didn't realize I said them all. And each of those casters has a very unique casting style and some of them are very expansive. For example, the cleric has a ton of talent trees. So it's bigger and smaller than the other classes at the same time, because technically the cleric has a talent tree for every god, and we got something like 16, 18 gods. Plus they have their own 2 generic talent trees. So on one hand, they have way more options than the other classes, but on the other hand, once you pick a god, you can only pick from that talent tree. So at that point, you only have 3 talent trees to use with the class. You got the 2 generic ones plus your god's talent tree. So it's a little bit more restrictive also. So a lot of more ways to play a cleric, but once you've selected your god, you're kind of more limited in scope on what you can talent down to. Totally agree. Transformers reference. I must have missed something. Thank you. Can I rebel against the governor of not Cuba, launch an invasion of not Aztec Empire, create a tertium conquer non-tech? Oh god, I can't fucking say that word. Why do you do this to me? At least Grimwald's still alive for another week. Listen, Grimwald's gonna be fine. Okay. Is the noble name influenced by Star Wars, or did you make it explicitly so that nobles start with that class? I don't know what that means. What do you mean by start with that class? So we made it an entire class. So this is basically it's a person of great influence, and it's a control class is what it is. So it's having resources and bearing and equipment and things like that. And yes, I was inspired by Star Wars for that. It's not the same. We've definitely made it our own with things like opening gambit and momentum and our own versions of talent trees. But I liked the idea, and I like the concept of it as a class. It's something that's, sure, you could be a noble in title, but as a seeker, noble the class is a noble or politician or crime lord or someone who goes out and adventures and is a step above the typical noble. And really goes out there and uses their authority to seek out legends in the world and to make their own. There will be some form of a knight prestige class, so I suppose you could be a noble that becomes a knight. Grimwald's gonna be fine, Icky. Nobles are so connected. So wizards do use their spell book. They're not as reliant on a familiar. You can summon one. There will be a familiar spell, but they don't really need one. It's just your spell book you got to worry about. So you can't be born with it. No, not necessarily. So I guess if you wanted to try to emulate the idea of, so wizards specifically, the class, are people who are born with a connection to the mana stream. They're not being granted by a patron. It's not being granted to them by a god. They're not gaining it through nature. They have an innate ability to use the mana stream. But that's dangerous in our universe. So wizards represent people who've been discovered to have this talent and are trained. So when you make a wizard in our system, you pick a tower. So one of the first things you pick in your class thing is a tower. And that tower determines where you got your training, and that will give you certain benefits and things and help you design your class in perhaps maybe a specific way or grant some bonuses. But there is an option among the towers that says apostate / towerless. And this is somebody who never went to go get that formal training. And so you're not to sell out. You are kind of on the run and trying not to get wrapped up in a tower. You're not very refined in how you use your magic, and there's pluses and minuses to that, and the towerless option will break that down for you. We have reached our max for gods for now. Are there a lot of crossover type talents that each god focus has? I might need an explanation on that question, Havoc. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So the god talent tree will focus on things that are important to the god. So, for example, there's a god called Ukgalu. He is the god of kind of ravenous hunger and war. And he constantly hungers for destruction. One cool thing about his followers is they don't build temples. They conquer them. So they conquer other people's temples and then transform them into temples to their god. That is his belief, that you conquer and you take and you devour. And he has a constant hunger. So when you play as the cleric of Ukgalu, you have a hunger mechanic, and the things that you do in combat sate that hunger, and the idea is to keep that hunger number low. And if you do, you get mechanical payoffs. If you don't, if you kind of keep it like middling, no big deal. If you let the hunger get too high, there could be some drawbacks. So just an example, that is like an example of a cleric talent tree and how it vastly changes the way you play your cleric. It's going to be very different from the way you play a different cleric. I am pretty far behind. I'm catching up. I don't remember even what I asked you, Valrock. Some nobles are warriors or wizards. Well, you can multi-class then. So you can multi-class in the system. So if you wanted to be a noble wizard, you could be. Or if, there's, so the idea of the noble class is that you are so engrossed in your noble heritage that you've got massive benefits to throw around and you're going adventuring. Right? A wizard is trained in a tower or is probably an apostate of some kind. You probably have not gotten the benefits of being a noble yet if you start out as a wizard. So if you start out as a wizard class, maybe your noble father found out you had this talent, and rather than try to bury it with politics and hide the fact you've got this connection and keep the towers away from you, you've always been the redheaded child of the family, the black sheep. So he sends you off to go to this tower. So maybe you go through your training. You get 4 levels in a wizard. You're back out there. You now got the power in the world. You return to your father, a fully trained wizard, and you want to claim your noble heritage. So you multi-class into noble. So as the wizard, you had the status of being a noble. You just didn't have the class functions of getting to access all those benefits. So once you multi-class, that's you coming back and reclaiming that noble heritage and finally getting to throw your weight around a little bit. So there's ways you could definitely reflect that. Conquistador? Sure, you can make a conquistador, I suppose. Take your pick on which class you want to do that with. Grimoire will be fine. Oh, Gino, it just clicked. It just clicked. Yeah, my brain was not there. Sorry. Oh, so yeah, the warlocks and witches, now they're a different class. It's the same class technically. They use patrons, but if you're a female, you're a witch. If you're a male, you're a warlock. And they have shared patron talent trees, but they also have some exclusive ones that are only for witches and only for warlocks within the same class. And so the witch has a familiar, and that familiar is key to her class in a way that's not true for a wizard. Warlock gets a bonded relic that is key to his class, and they do different things. Oh no, Darth Dave, why? Is the most powerful god a Muppet? No, there are no Muppets. Since you're locked out of other gods, do you get certain talents that they can all access, or does it similar things but they're labeled something? So the way it works currently for clerics is there are 2 kind of generic talent trees. I'm blanking on their names off the top of my head. I could go look, but I don't feel like pulling it up. But we'll just say we'll call one godly prayers and one I don't know, benedictions. Okay, those are 2 generic talent trees that any cleric can use. Boop, they're there. And then you'll have a third kind of question mark talent tree that changes depending on which god you pick. So let's say you pick Kika. You can only now pick talents from Kika's talent tree. You cannot pick any from Thalassa's or from Grix's or whoever. You can only pick from Kika's. So you are locked out from the other gods, but you can still pick from the 2 generic talent trees. So total, you've got 3 talent trees you can pick from as a cleric. Wouldn't it be beneficial for clerics? No, the idea is to sate his never-ending hunger so that he doesn't devour you. Look at that, I caught up. I'm so amazing. I am so amazing. How far open testing phase? I don't like to put numbers on that stuff because I find every time I put a number on something, it never works out the way I want it to. But it should be reassuring that we are now actually into playtesting. That's been a long time coming on its own. So we are now kind of in that phase, and there's going to be a few phases to that. We've only passed the first month of it, the first kind of phase, if you will, which was testing the first 4 characters. We're going to go through and do a sample of each of the classes, and then we're going to kind of open that up to being able to build your own characters. And then based on how those things go, we'll gauge, right? Do we need to do some more close testing before we open this up a bit larger, so on and so forth. But that's just a determination we'll have to make as we go. I can see. So I'm looking at the live chat over on Rumble. I feel like the chats on there are not matching up to what I see in my. Please tell me this system hates min-max players. I wouldn't say it hates min-max players. There's probably a few things that will make min-maxing a little less crazy. For example, multi-classing. Rather than allowing to multi-class every single level, we do have that gated by rank. So every 4 levels, you open up a slot to multi-class. So at level 5, you could take a multi-class into another class, but you need to at least have 4 dedicated levels into whatever class you're currently in. So the Wizard Noble example, if you start out a Wizard, after you've gotten Wizard level 4, you then unlock the ability to then multi-class into, say, Noble, right? And this is to kind of limit a little bit. One, narratively, I think it just makes sense that it should take time to learn a whole nother trade. It shouldn't just happen in one level. But also it kind of limits a little bit that constant dipping where you're like building your own functional classes, which I never liked about 5e. How many people don't even really play the Warlock? They just take the first level to get the Eldritch Blast and take their Hexblade, and then they also add Rogue, then they also add Warrior, and then they, do all this other, like, it's not even a real class at that point. You just kind of cobbled something together, and it's a bunch of dipping to min-max to the match possible power gaming sphere with no real idea about the narrative or caring about the fact you have a patron or any of that stuff. And we want that to be less of a thing in the system. So in that way, we are. I think I might be missing some things because I think what I'm realizing is this chat is way behind. Rumble must send their messages very delayed because it's synced up to YouTube perfectly. But Rumble, the messages seem to come a little bit slower. Away. How do I get rid of this? I don't want to do this anymore. Let me see if this is true. Dipping with just a bunch of edges and not classes focus is like. I feel like this is like a mix of what I've got. That's really weird. A bunch of edges and not class focus. It sounds like Savage Worlds. So you're probably going to notice that this system is a combination of the many experiences I've had as a dungeon / game master over the years, the things that I really enjoyed, and the things I have found ways to cobble into this system and integrate and find a new way to express but capture the flavor of, the things that I dislike. or have found to be lame or problematic in the older systems, I've taken out, and you won't see it in here. And hopefully, my experiences being cobbled together into this system will make something playable and fun. But yeah, so some of this will take some love from Savage World for sure. Things like the exploding dice on a crit, the idea that you can only multi-class as you hit a character rank every 4 levels. But then some things are not going to feel like Savage Worlds, like you mentioned. Just literally cobbling together things in a classless system. That's not what Legend Seeker is. Classes exist for a reason. They represent something in the world. So you spend some time there. Rumble channel is named Moonskull. I cannot speak to any potential deals that I may or may not be working with any publishers or affiliates at this time, the horror host. But as those things are figured out, you will hear from me. Are some classes going to be blocked out from multi-classing due to narrative constraints? Very little, very little. So the way it currently works is on the caster side, you can only have one caster class ever. So once you pick, for example, cleric, you are blocked off from taking wizard or any of those things. Your source, your connection to the mana stream has already been determined, and just the play styles between the different casting classes and how their spell memories work and things would be way too convoluted and difficult to try to figure out on paper. So once you pick a caster class, that is your source of magic and your method of getting that magic. You're locked in. The other classes, so martial classes for the most part, those don't have those same limits. You can take as many of those as you unlock through your character ranks. So if you want to eventually be a rogue, barbarian, noble, ranger, warrior, you can. Or if you want to be a noble rogue witch, you can. You just can't be a witch wizard, for example. So yeah, you can multi-class, and the only real restriction, well, 2 restrictions. The only real mechanical restriction is picking casters. There's also keeper's discretion, right? If they feel for some reason that it doesn't make sense what you're doing, if you put like no effort into establishing, okay, how did you become a noble, in our role play, maybe your keeper then will say no, but mechanically nothing's stopping you. Barbarian noble actually would be really funny. I kind of like the idea of that. Starting out as like a barbarian, and then at level 5 becoming the chieftain of your clan or something, and that gives you the noble title, would be pretty badass, actually. All right, so I am getting a little over the time that I wanted to spend, so let me actually hop over to this. I wanted to show you guys the character sheet real quick and just kind of talk about it. So first off, here's an aboleth, by the way. This is using our official artwork. If you're wanting to see one of our monsters out there, this barbarian's currently in a fight with this aboleth, which he's only level 1, so he's going to lose. But you know what? That's all right. A+ for his ambition. But what I really wanted to show you is that we've got character sheets. This one doesn't have a bio. Maybe I'll show you. I'll show you an example of both. So this is Zathka, as I mentioned before. And we have fully functioning digital character sheets in Roll20 with clickable buttons, automated boxes that auto-calculate things, buttons that do shit, corruption trackers. We've got status trackers that you can see automatically adjust other stats, which is pretty cool. We've got our weapons and then eventually spells that'll go down here. We've got our age, sex, height, weight, alignment, deities, all that stuff is up here, which is really cool. And then resources, of course, you've got your equipment inventory, you've got all your skills, you've got your armor, which you can equip or unequip visually, tracking class resources. And then you've got your edges, special traits, talents, they're all down here. And this all, I don't know if I can, oh, you're not gonna be able to see the dice rolls, huh? Let me see if I can adjust that slightly. Da, 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 da. All right, let's, here we go. This will allow you to see a little bit more. Also, you can see that we have a custom unique spell called Heart Attack in the game. In particular, loves Heart Attack. I think you guys are going to like that spell too. But yeah, so you can do all sorts of cool things, and the sheets are pretty advanced too. Like, for example, Frenzy. You could hit that, and it'll put it out there. Oh, I guess you can't see it. Damn it. My face is in the way. Here, I'll just... God, all right, so there you go. You can see that it puts it out in the chat so people can see what it is, but you can also, it pops out a little whisper thing if you only want to whisper it to me, and it'll do that. Really cool stuff. And then of course you got your rolls. So I don't know, maybe this guy wants to make a climb check. He wants to climb something. All right, it rolls the dice. That stuff's all cool. The armor all has built-in automation. So when I fill in the armor level, defenses, whether I get damage reduction, if I'm proficient or not, all those things automatically calculate different parts of the sheet. So if I'm not proficient in wearing the armor, for example, it'll put penalties in all my skill rolls. If I put in the damage reduction armor levels, it'll auto add where it needs to be. If I put in the dex cap, it'll automatically cap all my dexterity stuff. So it's really cool. It really takes the game and just makes it easy to get into and a digital way to play. So this is important because, one, it makes playtesting so much easier, and we can easily get with tons of people to playtest this game and make stuff happen, right? But also, probably the bigger impact is this means that come launch time, we'll have a ready out of the box digital platform that Legend Seeker can be played on. This isn't just a digital sheet. This is essentially a full system built into a sheet. So that'll be huge to be able to launch this and know that we have a Roll20 digital system for Legend Seeker so people can get online and play. That is a huge access point. That is a huge access point. I don't think you guys maybe quite grasp in some cases how big of a deal that actually is. Because a lot of people still play at their tables, but this opens it up to a much bigger audience. It makes it more accessible. It also makes it streamable, which is pretty big deal. Somebody mentioned earlier, I haven't announced this stuff yet, but we are going to be partnering with some other channels here down the road, and having them stream a little bit of Legend Seeker 2 so you can see it in action. And it'll kind of serve its own playtest, right? In a way, a sort of a public playtest with some streamers. I'm not going to announce who and what and where and what they're doing. That's a ways off, and I don't want to spoil it now. But that'll be out there. That'll be out there. But yeah, everything's really cool in here, and the spells. Let me grab my actually. Also, we have Whiny. Whiny has his own sheet too. Look at that. If you guys remember Whiny. But my is our witch You can see her stats are quite a bit different. And she's got spells. Look at that. We got our spells all here. You can open up the spells. Now, our spells are tiered. You might recall from us talking before. So basically, you cast your spell, you roll a dice, and then whatever you get on your roll determines how powerful your spell is going to come out. So over time, you'll more consistently wield better and better spells. And this is a pretty advanced section, right? You can put in the damage, you can set up what happens when you spend a legendary point, you can make it additive or replacing. So in this case, it would be replaced because 1d8 becomes 1d10. And it knows how to calculate all of this stuff. And then when you cast it, it'll ask if you want to spend a legendary point. You guys can't see that, unfortunately. Yeah, there it is. And I'll say no. And then it'll roll it. Now, in this case, I did a really bad job. That being said, I still passed. I'm really annoyed that you guys can't see this. Excuse me. Did not mean to cough into the mic, but I was trying to get this up here so you can see it. So it'll cast it, and so in total, I did roll a 12. You can hover over it and see the breakdown of it. So even though I rolled a 5, which isn't great, I had enough skill points in Mana Tap, which is your spell casting ability, that I still was able to just eke over the lowest possible option. Now, if I'm being real, there's a secondary aspect to this that once you succeed on the spell, you also compare the roll to their reflex defense on this spell, at least. Not all spells are like that, but this one you also compare the reflex defense to see if it actually hits them after casting. 12 probably isn't hitting most things. Certainly anything that has armor is probably not going to be hit by that. But let's just pretend it did. Then you would roll damage. And it'll roll it out there. And I'm going to show you what crit looks like too after we do this, and it'll put the damage out there, which is pretty cool. So really neat, nice automations. I guess I could turn my face off. You guys don't want to see my face? I can turn my face off. Where is my face? Oh no, my face is gone. Oh no. But let me grab one of the warriors back, actually. Let's grab Zathka. And just for the sake of showing you what this would look like, I'm going to take his battle axe. You know what? I'm going to turn off the patch too. It's not perfect, but it'll do. So I'm going to take his battle axe. You know what? Let me shrink this sheet just ever so slightly. I can't quite get it high enough there. All right. And I'm going to change the crit to 5. So it crits on a 5 or higher. I'm going to roll, and I'm going to put in an additional modifier of 10. And target defense score going to be 10. All right, so what I wanted to show you here is, first off, when you make a roll, it's still not quite high enough. It shows you a couple things. First, it shows what your roll is, what you're supposed to try to hit, and then for every 5 over that defense you get, so in this case, the defense was a 10, every 5 you go over, you get what's called a raise. That adds 1d6 to your damage. So in this case, I got 2 raises. So I'll end up getting 2d6 extra just off that alone, which does classify this as a heavy hit. If you get at least 2 raises, it's considered a heavy hit. And that doesn't mean much mechanically on its own, but there are certain abilities that trigger off of heavy hits. So some of your talents will be like, if you got a heavy hit, do X. And for Zathka specifically, that'll give him a momentum. So that's really nice. He gets some momentum out of this. So I get 2d6 on top of my normal damage, and then when you crit, you get an extra d6 added, and all of your dice become open-ended, which means that if they roll at their highest value, they'll explode, they'll ace, they'll cascade is what we call it in the system. So in this case, I'm getting 3d6 extra damage plus my normal damage, all of them open-ended. Let's see what I get. And you'll see I got an 8, so that 6 rolled again. If I had gotten another 8, it would have exploded again, and so on and so forth until I don't get that 8. In this case, it stopped at the 6. So in total, I got 25 damage on that roll. That's pretty good. And you can see the breakdown here. So anything that is green there means that it aced. So that went up to that 6, plus I had the 6 base damage. So in total, 25 damage on one hit. That's pretty solid. Now if I change this back to 20 and just roll it like normal. Well, that time I failed. So I'll let you see what that looks like. Let me see if I can do a little bit better. Okay. So poor Zethka, he was a failure on that one. But this one, he did a good job. He did a regular hit. He got a raise. That means he gets 1d6 extra. So in total, I got 13. So a crit, it adds a pretty significant amount of damage. And that's pretty damn good. So that's how the attacks work and the damage works. It's pretty nice. I was trying to think. Only other thing on the sheet that probably I'll show you right now is you do have number of attacks. So in this system, you have a 3-action economy. You can divide that up between move actions and standard actions. There's no bonus actions in the system or anything like that. You got 3 things you can do, and those 3 things are either attack, cast spells, standard, move, whatever you pick for that slot fills that slot. And you pick how you at the start of the turn, you declare how many. That'll give you a penalty depending on how many you try to cram in there. If you just do the 1, if you just do a 1, you take no penalties. If you take 2 actions, you'll get -4. If you take 3 actions, you get -8. And at low levels, taking 3 actions is pretty rough, but it can still be done. There'll be certain edges and talents you can get that'll reduce some of those penalties. And of course, as you go up in level and you get that increase in your base attack bonus and your skills and things like that, those penalties, while they'll still be a detriment, they won't hurt quite as badly. A raise is no, that's a different thing. All right, so there's 2 things. A raise is when you get 5 more than your target number. So in this case, let me see if I can just the armor class was 10, right? So we're saying that this guy had a reflex defense of 10. I rolled a 16. So if I got a 10, I hit, and that's good. But if I get 5 more than 10, so a 15, that means I got a raise. And every 5 over that is another raise. So in this case, I got 1 raise. And when you attack, every raise you get adds damage. So basically, your attacks get more powerful the harder you hit on this attack roll. So normally, if I didn't get a raise, right, if I just barely hit, so let's say I got a 10, I would do 1d8 plus 6 damage. That's how much Athka does with his Battle Axe. So the max I could possibly get on that is 14 damage. If I get a raise, I get to add another d6 to that. So then at that point, the max I could get is 20. If I got 2 raises, it'd be 2d6 added to that, and so on and so forth. What Valrock's talking about is called cascading. So if you crit, meaning you roll a natural 20, your dice cascade, which means that they become open-ended. So if you roll the max on any of your damage dice, so let's say your damage was a d8, if you roll an 8 on that damage die, it will clone that dice, roll it again. If it rolls less than 8, you're done. If it rolls another 8, it'll clone it and do it again. And you get to do that until it stops acing or cascading. And once it's done cascading, you add it all together, and that's how much damage you get. So hopefully that answers that. But yeah, so really cool. I just want to show you guys, this has been a lot of development. I know it probably looks simple, but this is a lot of programming. There's a lot going on under the hood every time you click one of these buttons. A lot of automation, right? If I have 0 stamina and I use my ability here, Wait, something just happened. What did I do? Oh, shit. My bad. All right, here we go. Current. So if I hit that, it automatically refills it. You know, just things like that. Like there's a lot going on here. They're all interconnected. If I'm down on my condition track, all my shit gets lowered. There's caps going on. There's even like advanced settings to turn spell slots on and off. Something called True Legend, which makes your legendary points more potent. And there's gonna be a lot more. This is just what we have now. This will eventually have a ton of stuff in here for talents and things that'll mechanically alter the way your sheet functions. This is like a whole gaming system underneath what looks like a piece of digital paper. And it was not cheap to get done, but I think it's worth it. And it's going to make for a great experience in the long run. But yeah. So that's what we're using in the playtest right now. So if you do get to play a playtest with us, you'll get some hands-on with this, and this will ultimately be what we use for the game as well. The finalized version will have all sorts of more goodies when it's time for actual release. But it's a very exciting thing, and not very many. In fact, I really don't know of any other RPG systems that were released that came out of the box system ready. And we are going to be system ready, and that is pretty damn cool. And I'm really excited about that. Really excited about that. Oh, and then here's where momentum is tracked, in case anybody was wondering. All right, let me add myself back into this thing, because I know you guys miss my face. You guys are probably like, please, please, Erudi, your face. We need it. There we go. That's probably where we're going to end, guys. I just wanted to show you that stuff, and hopefully you liked what you saw, and maybe it made you a little bit more excited and gave you some more understanding of how the system is going to work and what we're building. And I'd love to see you guys giving us some more feedback, reading the entries. If you're not on Patreon, consider supporting over there. There is a free option. You can go over there for free and just follow. You'll only get access to the public posts, which there are a decent amount, but at least you'll have some access and get to see what's going on. But if you decide you'd like to financially support and help us build this thing, yeah, you could do that as well. There are several tiers of all sorts of affordability levels over there. It really helps. It really, really helps. Having you guys support over there. This character sheet, I couldn't have done it if it wasn't for the fact we've got that Patreon. This character sheet wouldn't exist. I'm not going to say what the price tag on this sheet is publicly, because I don't want to put my contractors' prices out there and put them in that position. But I will tell you, it was not cheap. At least not cheap for somebody of my size, company-wise. So I couldn't do it without Patreon. I couldn't get the art. I couldn't do half of what we're doing here. You'd be getting a black and white textbook with no functionality and no art if it was just me doing this on my own. So genuinely, when you guys support on Patreon, it is a huge deal. Plus, it gets you access to play tests if you want to try this yourself, and you get to give benefits to the different casts on Moonskull. So lots of fun stuff baked in there. So I don't know, consider it. Maybe, possibly. But either way, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out. Hopefully you guys liked having Rumble. I still got some kinks to work out over there, I think. I don't know that I don't know why there's a weird disconnect between some of that. I'll figure it out, though. The Rumble experience will slowly get better as I get acquainted with it. But hopefully you guys like having that access. It's a good backup plan, and yeah. But that's it, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.